Hello, we begin with the latest confrontation between Palestinian fighters in Gaza and Israel, which is now in its fifth day. In the past few hours, Israel has bombed one house in Beit Lahia in the northern Gaza Strip and others in Gaza City. At least 33 Palestinians have been killed since the bombardments began on Tuesday. Rockets have also been fired from Gaza in the morning, triggering warning sirens in southern Israel. This comes as Egypt and the United Nations seek to secure a ceasefire. In just a moment, we'll be hearing from Willem Marks, who's standing by for us in the south of Escalation, that's near the border with Gaza. But first, let's get an update from Youmna Sayed, who's joining us from Gaza itself. So tell us about the latest airstrikes, Youmna.
Yes, Doreen. Well, the Israeli airstrikes have intensified a lot this morning, actually. Many homes have been targeted. I'm talking about five homes, three-story buildings, at least each home of them. Just this morning, in Beit Lahia, in Beit Hanoun, two in Gaza City, one in Al-Shaja'iyya, and another in Yarmouk, while two in Beit Hanoun and in Beit Lahia, as I mentioned. Now, there was a very cautious calm in retaliation by the Palestinian factions in the past morning hours. But then, as mourners, hundreds of mourners were carrying and saying goodbye to Iyad al-Hassani, the latest Islamic Jihad commander who was killed yesterday in an assassination in his apartment in Nasser City, as they mourned him and took him to the cemetery where he was buried. The barrages of rockets by the Palestinian factions have resumed towards the Israeli towns. Many of them have been going on just in these past few minutes, Doreen. Also, I want to mention the targeting of Beit Lahia cemetery by an Israeli airstrike that just took part a couple of minutes ago. Part of the cemetery was destroyed.
Youmna, so do you get the sense on the ground that things are then heading towards more of an escalation or towards some sort of ceasefire?
Well, let me tell you about the latest statement by Al-Quds Brigades, the military wing of Islamic Jihad. They said in front of the continuation of the assassinations and the bombing of apartments and civilian homes, the Palestinian resistance will renew its missile bombardment of the occupied cities, confirming the continuation of the confrontation and the revenge of the free. That's the operation called by the Palestinian factions. They also added that the resistance has prepared itself for months of confrontation. Now, from all the bombardment that we have been witnessing last night and all morning hours, now the retaliation of the exchange of fire between both sides, they have these confrontations do not show any signs of a soon or a near or even a fruitful effort of any mediations towards a ceasefire, and this has raised the tension here, the fear among the civilians and the residents, as we are going into the fifth day of a continuous Israeli attack and continuous exchange of fire between both sides.
Thank you, Youmna Sayed. Thank you for that update from Gaza. Let's now bring in Willem Marks. He's joining us south of Escalation. That's near the border with Gaza. So, Willem, what have you seen where you are?
Well, right now I can hear a presumably Israeli military jet right above my head. Just about 60 seconds ago, there was a very loud explosion directly above us. In the distance, there is a long plume, a trail from a projectile that looks to be one of the long-range missiles that's been of great concern to the Israeli military over the last few days. And in the last 10 minutes or so, we've certainly seen a couple of the smaller plumes of smoke indicating that the Iron Dome, the defense mechanism, has been intercepting lower trajectory rockets here. We've seen warning sirens have been going off, not just in the smaller communities close to Gaza, as happened early this morning, but also in Ashkelon, the city just a few kilometers up the road, and then further up the coast in the city of Ashdod, an indication again that these longer range missiles are effectively getting through some of the Iron Dome mechanisms. No reports so far of any of the projectiles coming from Gaza landing on homes or of any casualties. But one thing, when we talk about the possibility of de-escalation, is important to emphasize. The Deputy Secretary of State for the United States, Wendy Sherman, has been talking, she said on Twitter, to the Strategic Affairs Minister here in Israel, Ron Dermer, calling for a de-escalation in an attempt to try and safeguard lives here.
Okay, thank you. Willem Marks reporting from Ashkelon. So the United Nations Population Fund for Palestine says that at least 417 people, or more than 70 families, have been internally displaced by the escalation of the conflict. There are an estimated 47,000 pregnant women in Gaza, giving birth to some 150 babies every single day. We can now speak to Dominic Allen, who's the United Nations Population Fund representative for Palestine. Dominic Allen, welcome to Al Jazeera. I understand that you've been usually based in Jerusalem. You've been stuck in Gaza since the latest fighting and the latest escalation began. So can you just give us, first of all, your initial thoughts on what you've seen and heard in Gaza, and particularly what are the biggest challenges women are facing as a result of this bombardment?
Well, thank you very much for having myself and UNFP on your show today, Doreen. Indeed, I'm speaking to you from the middle of Gaza, where I hear from my window the rockets exploding and getting a sense of the escalation from right in the middle of Gaza. For the UN, for UNFPA, we're really concerned about the impact of the escalation and the impact it's having on exacerbating an already very difficult humanitarian situation. This is one of the most densely populated places in the world, with a huge amount of vulnerable people and children. For us, for UNFPA, our major concern is the impact of this escalation on women and girls, like you said, especially pregnant women, girls, pregnant women and domestic violence survivors. This healthcare system in Gaza, it was already on its knees following the long-term blockade and the impact that that's had.
Right.
These latest attacks have really made the situation worse.
Right. And
all Gazans.
The numbers we have so far are that at least 3 women have been killed in Gaza. So what sort of measures then are being taken by organizations like yours, by the United Nations, to protect the rights of women and to ensure their safety during these times?
Well, indeed, I think all Gazans have the right to live a life free of fear for their lives. Right now, our concern is about ensuring the access to healthcare facilities and hospitals. I spoke yesterday with the head of the Al-Shifa hospital, biggest maternity hospital in Gaza, looking after those pregnant women. And she's reporting a reduced number of women coming to those birthing facilities be out of fear. They're worried by walking the streets. So from our side, we're working as part of a coordinated response to look at all parts of the sectors, but for us, for the pregnant women, to ensure that they can receive the support that they need, both access for their regular checkups and support, supplies that are already major needs are on the ground. So we're here and we're responding.
That must be very difficult, a difficult response, though, because it's safe to say that the healthcare system in Gaza has been severely weakened, not only, of course, by the fighting that's going on right now, but also by the occupation.
Yes, as I said, the long-term chronic impact comes as a context to this current acute crisis. There are major needs in Gaza already existing, and the healthcare system requires significant amounts of support. For us, we're looking at what we can do to support the women and girls with their sexual reproductive health needs. We're looking to provide, from our side, the dignity that they require through kits, providing those supplies, especially for those displaced families and women that you spoke of earlier. We want to make sure that there are shelters available and support services available for those women who are also suffering from domestic violence, gender-based violence as well.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you, Dominic Allen. We appreciate your time with us, joining us from Gaza.